I've studied poker for about 8 hours today over 3 different sessions, and I am freaking exhausted. Do you ever get into a poker session and you're crushing, you're in the zone, you're bluffing properly, you're making great hero calls, you're building stacks, you grab the chip lead, and it feels like you're unstoppable, and then you get to that key moment right before the final table, and you get wrecked. God, this can't keep happening. I can't fold here. Good luck, us, chat. Not folding. Of course, he just gets queens. Oh! He called? Oh my gosh, massive flip! Of course. Of course! So, needless to say, this is not where I imagined our bankroll being at the end of week 2. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a little embarrassed about where we've come over the first 2 weeks. But in spite of our downswing, I still feel like our game is getting better. We've had an incredible amount of variance late in tournaments. And we're still in a place with a good foundation to turn this thing around and be very, very successful. One of the challenges with a project like this is it is all out there in the open. And we do want it to be out there in the open because I don't want to just show you guys success. I want you guys to see what failure looks like. I want you guys to see what fear looks like. I want you to see what it looks like to feel uncomfortable. I want you to tangibly feel the pressure of trying to perform and be the best version of ourselves we can be. And even though there is pressure, I still feel at peace inside about where we're going, what I've learned, having all of these amazing tools, having access to Ryan, having friends who support me in this journey and are going to come alongside over the coming weeks. You're going to get to see and meet and interact with many of them in these videos. We're in a great spot. We're just in a great spot that doesn't look so great after 2 weeks. I've had some really, really good conversations this week with Bet on Drew, with Ryan LaPlante, with Gordo, and some of my friends. And one of the things that's come up a lot is this idea of tilt and emotions and putting ourselves in a position to succeed. But even more important than that, there's been a question that's been asked over and over and over again, which is, why is a guy who has worked so hard for so many years not achieved more? How is it that someone that's played poker for 17 years profitably still has a bankroll that dwarfs in comparison to so many great players out there? How is it a guy who has worked 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week for the better part of the last 10 years is still at level 1, at ground level, just getting started? And I had an epiphany about what's going on here. And it's much deeper than poker. This isn't about my play at the tables. Not that I can't get better at the tables and not that I can't improve, but this is about the way I approach life. And there was an interesting part of the conversation with Drew where we were talking about what was going on with the first video and how we approach content and where I should go with future videos here with the journey. And I hit on something that really struck a chord with Drew.
I almost wanted to see, though it was early, I almost wanted to see some frustration. Like, I feel like a good bit of you is like finding you.
Like, I mean, we know, like, when it comes to like streaming especially, like there is a like there's amount of time that needs to go in before the stream and after the stream and between streams. And a lot of times I just don't have enough runway for that, and so sometimes I'm limping into a stream, you know. And obviously the show has to go on, so there's some times where we just have to push through that and elevate past that, and nobody feels excited about streaming 100% of the time, obviously. But as I can get those things better too, I think it will help, because I can have a little bit more intentionality about everything I do in content.
Imagine, it just hit me. Imagine if we were recording this conversation we're having right now.
And so Friday night, it's late. I'm talking with my wife, and one of the things we're talking about is this very topic of how have I not gotten farther in poker? How have I not gotten farther in life? How have I not seen more success? And why are there people out there who have worked as hard as me, or maybe even not quite as hard as me, who are so much bigger, and they've got such a bigger bankroll, and they've managed their money, and they've all of these things. And I went to bed just trying to wrap my head around the answer to this question. And then it came to me. It's the word FOMO. Now, if you don't come from an investor background or maybe a daily fantasy sports background, you might not be familiar with FOMO, but FOMO just stands for fear of missing out. And it's this feeling that if we don't do something, then we're going to miss out on whatever opportunity that situation provides. And in theory, it sounds like a good thing. Like, oh, we should be excited and proactive about opportunities. We should be aggressive. We should assert ourselves. But I actually think it can be a huge crutch. And I started thinking about every facet of my life, how I approach poker, how I approach my schedule, how I approach my bankroll. And I started to just see this pattern over the last 10 years of every single time something came up, me going after it 110% because I didn't want to miss out. You know, I've got to play the 15th poker session in a row, because what happens if this is the day that I was going to bank? I got to play every Sunday, because what if I miss out on a really big guarantee? I got to start my poker session 3 hours early because there's these really great tournaments that might overlay, right? And this fear of missing out just starts to drive so much of my decision making, and takes me to a place where I actually think I'm working too hard. I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to take on too much. And it causes me to put more time in, but be less optimal. And FOMO goes beyond just poker to my very life. Nights that I've lost sleep thinking about what I've accomplished with my life over the first 41 years. And is this what my life's going to be? Just struggling day after day, week after week, month after month, trying to get by. Like, what is my life going to amount to? And even that fear drives me to push myself way too hard. And so the epiphany for me, the takeaway for me heading into this next week is simply to slow down and to put myself in optimal situations. It's kind of similar to poker, right? Like, we talk about in poker how we can get anxiety at the tables, and we can try to like be hyper aggressive and try and do too much, and we can try to push ourselves out of our ranges to try and take advantage of weak players at the table. And the key in poker is, yes, we want to be aggressive, we want to exploit, but we have to stay within our ranges. If we get too far out of balance, then people can take advantage of us. And I think in life, it's the same way. If we get too aggressive in life, if we get too far out of balance in life, life starts to take advantage of us. And we take a winning opportunity and turn it into a losing one.